Welcome back to the channel. What you're about to hear isn't a story filled with violence or jump scares. It's something far more unsettling. This is about an abandoned farm, an eerie silence, and the chilling moment I realized that silence can feel intentional, almost intelligent. It is a true account from one of my explorations that I've never fully been able to shake. So if you're a fan of real, unexplained exploration stories that dig under your skin, and stay there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like. You won't want to miss what's coming. Let's set the scene. Imagine a farm miles from anywhere, swallowed by fields of overgrown grass that swayed like a silent green ocean. The place had been officially abandoned for decades, a relic of a time long past. The paint on the main house was peeling in long, sun-bleached strips, and the windows were dark, empty eyes staring out at nothing. But the local stories told a different tale. They whispered that the farm wasn't truly empty. Someone or something still maintained it. They didn't say anyone lived there, not in the traditional sense. The word they used was active. They claimed someone kept it from falling completely into ruin, a ghostly groundskeeper. I, of course, didn't believe a word of it. To me, it was just local folklore, the kind of spooky tale people tell to keep kids away from old, dangerous buildings. It was just another abandoned place, another forgotten memory on the landscape, waiting to be explored. That was my first mistake. As I walked the property, the first oddities began to surface, like small, nagging inconsistencies that just didn't add up. On the dirt path leading to the barn, there were fresh tire tracks, not old, rain-washed indentations, but crisp, clear marks, as if a vehicle had passed through just hours before. I touched the massive sliding door of the main barn, expecting it to be rusted shut or at least groan in protest. Instead, it slid open with an unnervingly smooth, well-oiled whisper. It moved easier than the door on my own garage. Inside, the air was still, but it lacked the thick, musty smell of decay you'd expect. The wooden beams overhead, which should have been crumbling and web-covered, were solid and clean. It felt less like a ruin and more like a stage, set and waiting for actors who had just stepped away. I ran my hand along a workbench. There was a layer of dust, but underneath it the wood was smooth, not rotten. This wasn't neglect, this was maintenance. At this point, a sensible person might have turned back. What about you? Let me know in the comments. Would you have left right then, or would your curiosity have kept you going? As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, distorted shadows across the fields, the atmosphere shifted. The golden light of the magic hour was replaced by a deep, oppressive twilight, and that's when I heard it. A faint, rhythmic, mechanical sound. It was old, a low-pitched clanking, like a piece of rusty farm equipment being turned over by a slow, deliberate hand. Crank, clank, pause, crank, clank, pause. I froze, listening. The sound was coming from the direction of a smaller outbuilding, a shed near the edge of the property. I took a few steps toward it, my boots crunching on the gravel. The moment I moved, the sound stopped. Dead silence. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I stood perfectly still, holding my breath, straining to hear anything. Nothing. Just the wind whispering through the tall grass. I took another step. The sound started again, exactly as before. Crank, clank, pause. I stopped. It stopped. That was the moment a cold dread washed over me. This wasn't a random noise. It wasn't the wind or some animal. The sound was reacting to me. It knew I was there. The feeling that settled over me wasn't fear in the typical sense. I didn't feel like I was being hunted or chased. It was something stranger, something more analytical. I felt measured, observed. It was as if the entire farm, the house, the barn, the very ground beneath my feet was a single conscious entity, and it was watching me, weighing my presence. It was deciding if I was a threat, deciding if I belonged. The feeling was so intense, it was almost a physical pressure against my skin. The sun had completely set now, and the darkness was absolute. I knew I had overstayed my welcome. I turned around, my back to the source of the sound, and started walking quickly, not running, back toward the main path to leave. The second I turned my back, the sound returned. Crank, clank, pause, but this time it wasn't distant, it was closer, much closer. It was as if whatever was making the noise was now just a few dozen feet behind me, pacing me, letting me know it was there. I didn't dare look back, I just kept walking, my pace quickening. I passed the main house and headed for a small, open-sided barn that stood near the entrance to the property, my final checkpoint before the main road. The rhythmic clanking followed me the entire way, a constant, unnerving companion in the dark. It never got closer, but it never fell behind either. It was just there. The moment I stepped under the roof of that small barn into the deep shadows within, everything went silent again. The clanking stopped. The wind died down. The air became heavy and still. A profound, absolute quiet descended, so total it felt like I'd gone deaf, and in that suffocating silence, a sudden, chilling realization bloomed in my mind. I wasn't escaping, I was being allowed to leave. The farm had finished its assessment of me, and I had been dismissed. The silence wasn't an absence of noise, it was a clear, final message. Your time here is over. Go. The next morning, driven by a need for answers, I went back. Under the bright, unforgiving light of day, the farm looked exactly as it had when I first arrived. It was just an abandoned place. The tire tracks from the day before were gone, smoothed over. I pushed on the main barn door. It was heavy and groaned in protest, refusing to budge more than a few inches. The workbench inside, which I could barely see through the crack, was covered in a thick, undisturbed blanket of dust and cobwebs. There were no sounds, no strange feelings. There was nothing. It was as if I had imagined the whole thing, but I knew I hadn't. It felt like I had stumbled into a place just moments after someone else had been there, and just moments before they returned. I had walked onto a stage between acts, and the stage itself had let me know I didn't belong. Not every dangerous place shows its teeth. Some don't need to. Some just watch and wait and let you know in no uncertain terms that you are a trespasser in a place that is not and never will be yours.